All right, we'll get going. I think we're recording. Welcome, everybody. This is one of the Prague Summer Study Abroad virtual information sessions. And I'm here with the digital photography instructor, Jeff Reed, Robert Sosa, who's teaching English 217, personal exploratory writing. And then I'm David Finley, the program director, and I'm teaching the uh, Intro to Holocaust Studies class. So here we are taking a look at the city of Prague across the Vltava River. And what you're looking at is the primary uh, panorama of the city, if you will, in terms of Prague Castle and that largest structure you see there, which is St. Vitus Cathedral, which is certainly one of the places we visit really the first week that we're there. You want to think about where the Czech Republic is, you can see there on the map on the left that it's located in Central Europe between Germany, Poland, Slovakia, and Austria. The Czech Republic and Slovakia used to be joined together, known as Czechoslovakia, from the end of World War I in 1918 up until about 1992, I want to say. Don't check my years on that as far as it goes. I'll say the city of Prague is about 4.5 hours from Berlin, which we're going to spend 3 days, 4 nights. It's also about 6 hours from Krakow, Poland, about 4.5 hours from Vienna, as well as 4.5 hours from Munich. So easy to get to lots of other places, and certainly centrally located. The other map, which I think that maybe you can not really see because maybe the video block is over it, shows you some other parts of the Czech Republic specifically. On the far left of that video, you see the city of Pilsen. It's where Pilsner beer is kind of born, one of the largest breweries in the city, and it's actually going to be one of the weekend excursions that first weekend as opposed to what we usually do. But I'll say something about that here. A little more up close map of the Czech Republic. Prague is where we're going to spend most of our time. That's 17 days, I think, 3 days in Berlin. It's the capital city, and certainly, in my opinion, the most beautiful city, not just in the country, but and all of Europe in many respects. Second largest city is down there to the southeast near Slovakia, Brno. Certainly a healthy rival between Prague and Brno, a little bit like Phoenix and Tucson in terms of the competitiveness between them. Prague is located in the region of Bohemia, which is known more for the beer drinking, maybe specifically from that city of Pilsen. Brno is in the region of Moravia, which is better known for white wine. A couple other cities worth noting there might be Karlovy Vary there near the German border, which has a number of baths, and I think host a film festival at the end of the June, right before we got there or get there. And I think Johnny Depp was there for one of those maybe 2 or 3 years ago. A couple other cities worth noting is Kutna Hora, and it'll come up in the presentation a little later. Olomouc and Český Krumlov, also very popular destinations that you may decide to visit on your own. What I'm showing here is really just the link and the location to our study abroad website at Chandler-Gilbert. We do offer 2 programs this year, the Prague program as well as Italy is running for the first time, and they're going to Perugia. The times do not overlap, so you could actually go to both, though I think it would leave you with a larger gap in Europe than you might want between one program and the second. But please let me know if you have interest in that, or I can lead you to the director of that, who's Dr. Fernando Romero. Passports, you certainly want to get on that, and I know that you're talking about already doing that, Christian. Should be $165, and if you submit now, you shouldn't have to worry about paying anything extra to have it expedited as far as that goes. But you'll certainly want to do that, and you can do it online. I think last time I did it, I actually went and got my photograph done at the post office, which is maybe not recommended. What you're looking down on here is the most famous, maybe, tourist destination in the city of Prague. It's Old Town Square. You're looking at the Church of the Ten or the Tyne there, and the big statue or monument that you see there in the square is dedicated to Jan Hus, who's a religious reformer. Wanted some reforms done with the Catholic Church about 100 years before Martin Luther, and so there were some advances there, or some things done there before they were even done in Germany in terms of the Protestant Reformation. 3 classes available this summer: Holocaust Studies, which I'm teaching, digital photography, both the intro class, the intermediate, or if you've had intermediate, there's an independent study or a studio class. And as I mentioned, Dr. Sosa's teaching personal exploratory writing, kind of with a focus more on travel writing and global citizenship, if my memory is correct. I'm not going to read a whole lot here about my bio, but I've been at Chandler-Gilbert as an English and humanities teacher for almost 20 years. I think next year is 20 years. Teaching literature and film, first year composition, writing, and a range of humanities classes, most recently the Holocaust studies. I'm from North Carolina originally, spent some time growing up in Florida. And have been here in the Valley for 30 something years. So I've lived here longer than I've lived anywhere else. And I'll give credit on the photo. That was a photo that Jeff took when we were in Prague maybe 2 years ago. First time I think we went after the pandemic. In terms of my course, which I know, Christian, you've got an interest in, there's certainly a reason to do it in Prague as far as it goes that most people aren't aware of. One is maybe represented by that image on the bottom left, which you can see is kind of a walled city with kind of a star kind of fortress wall around it. I think the fortification goes back to the 1700s. It's completely unrelated to the Holocaust, but because it was a walled city, it became a convenient place for the Nazis once they occupied Czechoslovakia and the Sudetenlands to use as a ghetto. And so many Czech, Slovakian, but also German, Polish, and Austrian, even Danish, I believe, Jews were sent to Terezin or Theresienstadt in German, which was kind of a layover ghetto between there and some of the killing centers in Poland, either Treblinka outside of Warsaw or more often Auschwitz outside of Krakow. The middle image is from the political prison. There was a ghetto there that you see on the left, and then a political prison. That sign says Arbeit macht frei. That's the German phrase for work sets you free, and it's kind of the German, I guess, ironic statement that you see over probably 90% over these camps that's there. And then on the far right, you see a close up of a sculpture memorial at the Czech village of Lidice, which was a site of a reprisal where the entire city, and these were not Jews, these were Czechs that were completely killed, men, women, and children. Some of the children put up for adoption to SS families, and the women sent to Ravensbrück concentration camp. But the whole city completely burned, destroyed to the ground. And so there's a memorial to that today, and it's kind of maybe a rallying call for Czechs when they think about one then, but even now, Lidice is an infamous site as far as that goes. I'll stop talking for a moment and let the other two instructors introduce themselves and their courses, and so I'll pass it off to Professor Reed.
Okay, hello, I'm Jeff Reed, and like David, I've been teaching in Maricopa since 1999, actually, so almost as long. And I'm a professional photographer, and so I've been teaching as an adjunct, and I've been at a number of the different colleges at Scottsdale, Glendale, currently at Phoenix College, and I've also taught the study abroad program in Prague, now through Chandler-Gilbert, since 2006. So when that course was still first offered, or we first went as a faculty group to explore the possibilities, I was among the first group and loved it so much I developed a course and have been going since then. So I've been about 12 times, I haven't gone every year, but looking forward to going again this year. And one of the things about Prague is such a great sort of lab for being inspired to make photographs. So typically when you live around a place for any period of time, you get a little bit immune to any newness because you're used to seeing things. So when you go somewhere different, it's already exciting. But Prague has so many really wonderful sites and really interesting art in the city and on the streets. And the Czechs are very artistic by nature, and so there's lots of interesting graphics, and they're very interested in photography and film as well as in music. So it's a really well-rounded art place, and it's wonderful for photographers. So I'm offering, as David mentioned, 3 options. If you haven't had photography before, you can take the beginning digital photography class. And if you've had Photo 1 or AVC 142, then the intermediate course is offered. since I teach at the community college myself, right now, as I said, Phoenix, a lot of times my students have already had several classes, and so I offer the independent study option, which is also a really good opportunity to kind of do your own thing and at the same time get additional instruction in photography. And I think people really enjoy the ability to strike out on their own. Don't be with the group, but strike out in terms of their own concepts and personal vision. So those three options are offered through the digital photography component. And then next we have Robert.
Hello, and this is also a master photograph by Jeff Reed. So he figures very largely in the presentation. I'm not sure how many of his pictures of Prague are actually in the presentation as well. Dave will confirm that. So
There are some, though. There certainly are.
yeah, so I've also been teaching in Maricopa for quite a while, and I think as it relates to the class that I'll be offering, the personal writing and exploratory class, I've also traveled quite a bit over the last 15 or 20 years. And I think one of the things that has really struck me about travel is the way that it has kind of helped me better appreciate my place as sort of a local citizen here living in the Phoenix metro area, and also as a global citizen. Because I think, what I realize is that there are a lot of ways that I travel. I move through the world as a U.S. citizen. I move through the world as a man. I move through the world as a person of color, and these all mean different things in different locations. So I think to some extent, what I hope the class will be like in Prague is it's really engaging you all, in terms of what does being in Prague mean to you? How is it changing your perspective on home? How is it changing your perspective on being a citizen of the U.S.? How is it changing your perspective, on being a college student as you are out, just sort of seeing how other people learn and do things, and walking through a city, that is, God, hundreds of years older than the United States. So I think sometimes we just see our world in very, very local ways, and traveling can really sort of blow that up a little bit. So again, I don't really want to talk too much about the class either. Obviously, if you have questions, I would love to answer them. And yeah, and I guess I'll turn it back over to Dave.
Great, thanks, Jeff and Robert. And I'll mention we've had two other people join us since we started with Christian. One is Angie, who I think may be here on behalf of her son. Hey, Angie, and Sierra, who I've had an email with her too. So none of these are new names to me, but I want to welcome you to the info session today. And I will say, since it's our first one of the year, having just been approved 2 weeks ago, we're recording it just to have it on the website for anybody who wants to see it before our next ones, or can't make some sessions, just as far as that goes. But we've just done some introductions to the courses as far as that goes. In terms of the schedule, we do have a pre-departure orientation that we always kind of have the last Saturday in April. That'll be April 26th this year, usually from 9 to 1. I'll buy lunch. It'll be a time to meet the instructors, your classmates, think about potential roommates while we're there. It'll be a chance to get a syllabus, but also to do a lot of the paperwork before we go. There's certainly a lot of forms and signatures required for international travel and risk and insurance and things like that. So we'll do a lot of that that last Saturday in April. In terms of the classes, and these dates might change a little bit. I know the dates are going to be a little bit different for both Robert, Jeff, and I in terms of our classes, but typically summer classes start that Tuesday after Memorial Day weekend. So May 27th would be a start date. That'll be a start date for my class, because it'll probably be an 8-week online course with some hybrid meetings before we go, just to kind of stretch it out. Doing it in 5 weeks always feels rushed to me now that I've done it both ways since the pandemic. I know both Robert and Jeff are planning to kind of do their classes with some meetings, just that 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks for Jeff before we go. But a couple of in-class meetings at Chandler-Gilbert at the main campus, the Pecos campus, and then depending on where people are traveling from and work schedules, I know that all of us have been pretty flexible in the past in terms of doing hybrid, doing some virtual online meetings or some high flex for people who maybe aren't as close to Chandler-Gilbert as others. But we certainly plan to have some face-to-face, in-person classes before we go. And then some of that may have to be kind of online hybrid just to accommodate people's schedules and distance. But then the real work starts once we get to Prague. Um, Classes would start on Monday, June 30th. They would run 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, just like summer school typically does, through Thursday, July 17th. That would be the last day. Classes are typically about 3 hours. We've been doing 9 to 12, 9 to 11:30-ish. We'll probably try to stick with that, both in Prague, and if we can, in terms of developing some habits, that may be the times that we'll shoot for while we're here, but we certainly can be flexible on that, and it may vary between classes and instructors. Sometimes Monday through Thursday, when we're done with class, you are done and free to do whatever you want to do on your own, whether it's homework or explore, etc. Sometimes, maybe twice a week, there's something that we'll do afterwards. We may, have a lunch break and then go see a guest speaker or go to a museum or some other excursion together. We typically do have things that we do on Friday and Saturday in terms of travel as well, but you'll always have Sunday off for sure. The plan is to leave Phoenix on Friday, June 27th. You'd book your own flights, so that way you can that way you can go a little earlier if you want to. You can extend your stay. You can use any kind of travel points or things that you have on your own. But the plan would be to leave at the latest Friday, June 27th. That would have you arriving in Prague Saturday, June 28th. We've always made a habit of meeting students at the airport. Either Jeff or I or Robert, somebody will be there to meet you at the airport and help get you to the lodging, which is typically a hotel, 2 students to a room. We stay at the Green Garden Hotel, which has breakfast included. I'll say a little bit more about that as we get further on. The last day of class, Thursday, July 17th. And then the expected departure date for most people, unless you're staying, would be Friday, July 18th. Certainly, students stick around afterwards and do some additional travel on your own. And I know that's usually what Jeff, Robert, and I do. I've got a family myself in Germany, so I usually go and see my aunt and my cousins afterwards. In terms of some of the things that we do while we're there, is that we'll go to Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. We always go there. Lately, we've been seeing the photographer Amos Chappell. You can check out some of his work online. It's fantastic work, both his photography and photojournalism, but the work he's doing using drones to take photos at historic sites. I'll mention Dr. Yuri Pehe, who used to work at Radio Free Europe, actually, and was part of the last administration of the Czechoslovakia and the first administration of the Czech Republic, working with the president Václav Havel. Yeah, you should know Václav Havel's name, and that's the name of the airport there, just like Ronald Reagan International. It's maybe not just like Ronald Reagan, but Václav Havel International Airport is the airport that you'll fly into, and it's named after a man who was president, but he was also a playwright and a poet, and who was jailed during the communist era, and then came out. And Dr. Pehe was a member of his administration. So we're usually sometimes blessed by him coming and giving us a quick history in Czech politics and history as far as that goes. And then we usually visit the Jewish Quarter with my class. There's 5 or 6 different synagogues there, as well as some other sites. And of course, this one, I think the Spanish synagogue is one of the more beautiful ones. Maybe the most beautiful one. We stay there at the Green Garden Hotel. I love the location. It's really just up from Wenceslas Square, which you'll see a shot of here in a moment. It's near the metro, which is the underground subway, as well as the buses and the trams. So very centrally located, very walkable to all the things you'd want to see. Food very close by. Restaurant in the hotel, and breakfast included. The other thing that I like very much about it, as a spoiled American, I suppose, is that they have air conditioning. And that used to be less of a thing, but with global warming, it can be pretty warm there. It's certainly in the 90s. I've been there when it's 92, 96 degrees even, and is very humid. So the air conditioning is nice. Granted, we've also been there when it's 68 degrees and raining at the end of June. So the temperature can vary. There's probably going to be some rain and some cooler days when we first get there, and then by the time we leave, it'll certainly be warmer and more crowded as tourists move into the area. There you can see one of our groups in front of the Green Garden. But we do like it there. They're very nice to us. And the location and walkability is great. It's also conveniently located near a hospital, and you wouldn't believe how handy that can be. Anyhow, coming back to some of the sites that you'll see that I mentioned, Prague Castle as kind of the dominating view on the panorama or the horizon there. The largest thing that dominates that castle complex, which is still where the current government is located, is St. Vitus Cathedral, which I think was started around 1348. Don't quote me on the years. The other two most popular and visible sites maybe in Prague is Wenceslas Square, which you see there on the left, long, rectangular, more modern square. That is certainly the place where Czechs come out to gather, especially in political protest. You're looking at the back of a statue of Vaclav the Good, who's also known as Saint Wenceslas, if you know the Christmas Carol. But he is the king credited for bringing the pagan Czechs underneath the banner of Christianity, and so that statue dominates that square. The other thing you see on the right, though, is maybe partially blocked by the video, is Charles Bridge, which was also started in the 1300s by the most famous king of Prague and the Czech lands, which is King Charles IV. He started the building of the cathedral. He started the building of Charles Bridge, which is a pedestrian bridge, but was the only bridge across the river for many, many years. And also the university, Charles University, the oldest university in Central Europe, started by him, as well as this popular tourist destination, the astronomical clock here in Old Town Square from 1410. I think that this clock is the third oldest in the world, the astronomical clock, and maybe the only one that still runs. Maybe I've got that wrong, but certainly the third oldest. Another shot of Charles Bridge. And then this is looking back across the river. We're kind of parallel with the castle complex. And this is just a photo caught accidentally from Letna Park. If you're in the photography class, you'll probably be at Letna Park at least once or more for a night shoot. But it's a beautiful location overlooking the city and restaurants up there, and just a good place to chill and people watch. And of course, across here, you can see my arrow that lit up church tower. That's that church of the 10 or Tyne that's there in Old Town Square, just to give you a sense of maybe where we are in the city. There we are, right behind the Church of the 10 or Tyne, looking back towards the castle was more toward the right, but the Strauhof Monastery here on the horizon, and St. Nicholas Church there as well. Some other shots of Charles Bridge. I won't linger too much on those, other than the fact that the city's just beautiful. It was not bombed during World War I or World War II, so much of the architecture is completely intact, going back to the year about 900. A whole range of Gothic, medieval, Romanesque, Renaissance, Baroque, neoclassical, modern, postmodern, communist, brutalist architecture, really quite a range of architectural styles, and lots to see. And certainly keeping your eyes open, looking up and looking down when you're in Prague makes a lot of sense. There's just so much to take in. It's one of the reasons it's such a great place for a photography class, or I think for a travel writing class as well. It's certainly going to be inspirational in one way or another. If you've not been in a Gothic cathedral, this is certainly a treat in terms of, let's say, the size. They're actually renovating it. We'll see what it's like when we go back this July. But the stained glass windows are beautiful, and the light that they bring into the the cathedral, you can see here an example of how the light changes as it comes through those stained glass windows inside the cathedral. The other thing that's in the cathedral, or at least in the cathedral every 4 years, are the crown jewels of Bohemia. You can see the jewels there in the crown, and then when it's not at St. Vitus or Vitus Cathedral, it's usually at Karlstein Castle, which I do think we have an image of in here. In terms of some of the other things that are close by, and I don't want to give you any false sense. These are not places that we're going to go as a group, but these are places right here that you may very well be able to go on your own if you're interested. There is the small town of Sedlak, which has a bone church or an ossuary. There you can see in the middle 2 photos from that bone church. This is a coat of arms that's made completely out of every bone in the human body, and a chandelier made of human bones that are leftovers from the bubonic plague or the Black Death in the 1300s. It's certainly an unusual sight, and one that you may never see again. It's certainly one of the UNESCO World Heritage Sites in the Czech Republic, and there's certainly more than one. Another one is the St. Barbara or Santa Barbara Cathedral here in Kutna Hora, and they made their money off of the silver mines there in the area. Karlstein Castle, maybe 20 minutes away on the train from Prague. If you need to see another castle, this is certainly, I think, my favorite second castle, Karlstein Castle, also named after King Charles, kind of his summer home, if you will. Needed another home outside of the city, but this is where the crown jewels are stored when they're not at Prague Castle. And I will say, if you're an art lover, at the very top of this is a collection of medieval paintings by Master Theodoric, the largest collection in the world, and he was King Charles IV's court painter. So that's certainly how he kind of made his name for himself. The place that we are going to visit this year, and it'll be my first time visiting, to be honest with you, though I've been by on the train, is going through Pilsen. Pilsen is in Bohemia, known for its beer, but has a couple of other sites worth seeing. One of them is the largest public square in the Czech Republic, which you see there in the center. It has the 3rd largest synagogue in the world. The 2 larger ones are in Israel and in Budapest, Hungary. And it also has the tallest church steeple. This church steeple is taller than the one at St. Vitus Cathedral. So a couple of reasons to be there. For the Holocaust Studies class, it's also where the U.S. Army stopped in World War II with George Patton. They went to the river in Pilsen and they stopped, and they let the Soviets come in from the east. And so that certainly led to maybe the division that you know on the map from the Cold War. Another image of the Prague Castle complex and Charles Bridge. Could give you these all day, but I won't. Shots of the clock. Another image of the equestrian statue at the top of Wenceslas Square, and I only reference it because you can see the image in the center top is a kind of a critique, if you will, of that statue by a contemporary Czech sculptor by the name of David Černý. He has his own museum now. I think in the last 2 years, he's actually got his own museum. A lot of his own work is around the city of Prague. You'll see it. Very odd, just contemporary, strange work that you may not recognize. But this is certainly one of his sculptures that we'll see. And it's in the Lucerne Theater, which is actually where Franz Kafka saw some of his first films, including his first Charlie Chaplin films. Here's just some historic images. When I mentioned Wenceslas Square, and there you can see the equestrian statue in that again. As I mentioned, this is a place where Czechs come out in political protest. And here's an image from August of 1968 when Czech college students and others came out in protest of the occupation by the Soviets. And so this is historically just an important site to Czechs then. And of course, now, as you can see, 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, almost, when they came out when the Russians invaded Ukraine, and so you can see them carrying a Ukrainian flag across Charles Bridge and up to Wenceslas Square in, I guess, solidarity of the Ukrainians. There certainly were a lot of Ukrainians that ended up in the Czech Republic afterwards. Still there, though some of them have moved back. Trip basics again, like I said, mentioned leaving on a Friday, June 27th. That should get you there on Saturday, June 28th. We will pick you up regardless of the time, day. I make that promise to people, especially who are traveling internationally for the first time, and then leaving on Friday, July 18th. My apologies, unless you're going to do some other travel, which is certainly worth doing. Estimated cost, this is just for the fees. So not airfare or the tuition for the courses, but $3,255. That includes the lodging in Prague and Berlin, 17 days in Prague, 3 in Berlin. That includes breakfast at both places, and breakfast is pretty good. We're pretty pleased. That's going to be unlimited use of the public transportation in Prague and Berlin, subways, trams, buses. That it covers all the fees for the excursions, that travel, museums, guest speakers, and your trip back and forth from Václav Havel International Airport. It also includes some student medical insurance, which you can kind of upgrade or use for your additional travel. So if you're sticking around or getting there early, you can include that. And I will say it worked out. I mean, this year we were there when the crash happened. What was that crash? Forgetting the name on it. People were stranded 2 to 5 days, and people were able to use their insurance to help with lodging, and so it did turn out to be CrowdStrike. Yes, CrowdStrike. Everybody but one student was at the airport, and they're like, "Oh, my flight's been." I was getting texts as I was on the train to Munich to see my family. They're like, "My flight's delayed. My flight's delayed. My flight's delayed. My flight's delayed." And then someone's like, "Mine's been canceled. Mine's been canceled." And then everybody's like, "Oh my God!" And 2 or 5 days, people were, stuck somewhere, and the insurance helped. I mean, I got stuck in Philadelphia on the way home myself, and the insurance helped. So it's a nice thing to have. For those who got here a little late, I'm David Finley. I'm the director of the program, and I'm also the instructor for Holocaust Studies. I've got my phone number and email up there if you don't already have it. Some of you, I think, do. Robert Sosa is a colleague and good friend teaching the personal exploratory writing class, also a Chandler-Gilbert faculty member with his contact information there. And Jeff Reed, who's been going to Prague since 2006, part of the program since, I think, teaching since 2008. He's certainly the person with the most time on the ground in Prague. He's teaching our digital photography class, and there's his contact information. So I'll stop here for a moment to see if anybody has any questions on things they'd like to ask, and we can just go from there.
Where are the classes held?
Good question. We've been using a place known as Prague College. You may also find them listed as Prague City University. They've been our host every year. I've been going since 2015. I took Jeff's class. I took an art history class there. They have been our host every year I've been there, except for 2. And they've been certainly our host every year I've been there as the director. So it's a good location down in the city, and they provide us with the classrooms and a little bit of support when we need it.
Okay.
Other questions?
Do
Maybe Angie or Sierra, who I know joined us.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to have my questions are going to be more universal or not, since Colin, he joined me here. He's, graduating in May. And so he's not currently enrolled. So I don't know how that plays.
Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, really, like even for Christians who's at Phoenix College, you may think, well, gosh, I'm not a Chandler-Gilbert student. How do I do it? You can just simply go on to the website and enroll for classes. So as as the spring semester comes around, as we get closer to that, you can just really enroll them as a student at Chandler-Gilbert. There's something you can do. I'm speaking a little out of turn because I haven't had to do it myself in terms of being on that side of the
Okay.
I mean,
Yes,
side of the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can just become a student, and it should not be an issue. We certainly had a senior come with someone who graduated last May came with us on the trip this last time, so it shouldn't be a problem. I'm happy to help you kind of navigate
Yeah,
that.
I might have to tap you on that since, so, and the letters of recommendation just from some of his current teachers at the high school.
Yeah.
Or he works, he works the job too. So, I mean, there's any number.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sometimes usually it's instructors, but sometimes people have used their boss or supervisor, and I think that's acceptable, at least for one of them.
Yeah, he's got a few. Okay, so I just want to make sure that, and then I guess just go ahead and fill out all the applications, use his current grade transcript from the high school, and go from there, and then just kind of okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
And you've got my contact information. Just let me know, and should be pretty easy.
Yeah, when's the deadline to get that application in? What are we looking
I
at?
think that the deadline on the website says something like maybe it's April 5th. It's like the first week of April. So there's some time. Certainly getting it in sooner is better for us because if it doesn't seem like there's interest, as certainly administrators might be like, well, we're going to pull the plug on this, sooner than later. So to have applications coming in sooner is just good for us to say, hey, we've got 6, we've got 8, we're making progress versus, let's say, though I do get a lot at the end. Like a lot, honestly, we do get a lot, after April 1st. But the more we have beforehand just kind of helps predict like, okay, yeah, it looks like we're going, or it looks like we're really on the cusp of being able to go. So
And so with the courses too, I imagine with the more advanced photography, he'd have to take the introduction, but all these other courses he could choose from, okay, or would he need to have any other prerequisites?
yeah, let me see.
Taking dual
class-
enrollment classes right now at the school, so.
Yeah, so my class has no prerequisite. If he's taking intro to digital photography, he wouldn't need a prerequisite. I know that the English 217 has English 101 as a prerequisite. Maybe he's taking that now as dual. I will say in the case
Yeah,
of the
he is.
prerequisite, he is.
He's taking that. Yeah, he's taking English, French, and some of the math classes he's been taking.
Yeah, so I mean, if he gets English 101 credit through dual enrollment, then he'd also be able to take that class as an option since he meets the prereq.
Great. I want to do it. I want to come.
You can. I mean, you can also easily sign up as a student. Like, honestly, we have students.
Maybe I should.
We have students that are 18, and we have students that come that are 65 years old.
Yeah.
So we have a range. Not every time, but quite often we do have a range.
Yeah.
Last time we must have had 3 or 4 people that were in their 40s, 40s and 50s, and so it's certainly a range of folks.
Okay.
Which makes it fun.
Yeah, and then just kind of getting his travel. He may go to Europe ahead of time, before or after. He may go to Belgium. I was an exchange student in Belgium when I was in high school, and so we have our family there. So he may be going there to visit them in between. So before or after. So we're fortunate to have that stopover.
Yeah, that'll be great. I mean, that's a good use of the time and the flight and all those things, and it's it's fantastic. Sarah, anything you want to ask while you're on?
I'm all good. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, sure. Absolutely. I know that I've sent her an email or two just as a update for Jeff and Robert. Well, I'm happy to answer any other questions if you've got some, Christian. Or we can end this and a little early, but I'll see what you think.
Are the applications answered after April, by April?
Oh yeah, I can answer them as soon as I have your references. Like really, I do it within days, right? I mean, if I get your references before we break for Christmas, I'll let you know then. Maybe it'll be in January, but I usually let people know pretty quickly so they can get started with the process, registering for a class, making a down payment, those types of things. Looking for a flight.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Well,
So what I'll say is, go ahead.
No, just saying exciting. It seems like everybody is really enthusiastic. It looks like a good group, of professors and everybody. Good program, it looks like. So
We love going. There's no doubt about it. The enthusiasm certainly pours out.
I always like to bring this up, and David, I don't think you actually covered it in the cost was, and I keep hammering on this, but the scholarships can be really good money, and they're not. Usually, we get one person who wins the Gilman College scholarship, which pays $5,000.
Oh yeah, right.
I know from experience that a lot of times people are interested, and at the last minute they go, I can't really afford this. It is affordable, and so I urge anybody here who's thinking of going to take a look on the website. There's a link to the Gilman scholarship opportunities.
Okay.
And it just involves writing an essay.
Oh.
I think pretty much.
Well, I'll say a little more about it. It's the Gilman Scholarship. It's done by the U.S. State Department. They do give up to $5,000 for international travel study abroad. The average award is $3,500, which is nice. They do award money to a third of the students who apply, so 33%. You do have to be FAFSA or financial aid eligible, so for some students that becomes a deterrent. But if you're financial aid eligible, you should look into it. The deadline for the scholarship coming up is the first week of March. I want to say March 3rd or 5th. Take a look at the application now. And I did look at it for the first time in a while this year, this fall, Jeff. And I will say it's 3 essays. You do have
Oh,
to write
3.
3
Okay.
essays, right? Granted, they can be 1-page essays, right? But one of them certainly is on like why you want to go and the benefits to your own kind of, personal, stuff and education. I do think that there's an essay about a project. You do need to have a project about how you plan to like disseminate, the benefits of international travelers study abroad. And I do feel like the other essay is maybe, I'm going to drop the ball on that. But there were 3 short essays that are part of it, which I think is maybe the deterrent. I will say our writing center would probably look at them. To be honest with you, if you send me something, I'm happy to look at it. I looked at one for somebody for the Italy program this fall. So, if you're interested, get started looking at those prompts now and get your brainstorming going and take advantage of that money. We do have other scholarships. That Ruth Callahan scholarship is $500. And she'll give 2 of them, maybe 3 of them. It does have an essay as well, but I think that deadline isn't until April. But she was one of the founding members going to Prague. She created the Holocaust Studies class, and she was going when Jeff was going and really just retired in 2017. And that's kind of when I stepped in. So that's another one, maybe a little easier, a little less work, but certainly the payoff on the Gilman is worth taking a look at. Thanks, Jeff. Other questions?
Could you send the link for that scholarship?
Yeah, I will. Christian, I'll follow up. I'll follow up and send you the link after we get off to your email.
Me too. If you send it to us as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, thanks. Thank you.
I'm eligible for FAFSA, but I stopped applying for it. Would I still be eligible for the scholarship?
I think you'd probably have to probably should spend, just like you're applying for your passport now, maybe go in and drop in your application to be eligible for FAFSA now. So by the time summer comes around, you can take advantage of it. And you may need to have that process to maybe even submit for them in March, so maybe right now or over the break, looking to kind of reapply for FAFSA eligibility or whatever that takes.
Okay.
Anything else? All right. Well, I'll say good evening to everybody. And thanks for coming. Good to see some of you. Have some faces to attach to names. And then certainly reach out to me or Robert or Jeff with any of your questions. Certainly, people always have questions about cameras and equipment for that class, tripods, etc. Jeff can certainly make a lot of good recommendations on things related to that. So don't hesitate to reach out. People are certainly willing and ready to help.
Great.
All right.
Thank you so much. This is
You're
great.
very welcome. Have a great evening. Have a
All right,
great
have a good one.
holiday season.
Bye-bye.
Hi, thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So you guys are gonna look at what classes you might want to take.
All right.
I can't get out.
Well, thanks, fellas, for sitting through it.
Hey, good job. Did you stop recording?
I did. So maybe the benefit is, one will have something on the website. I'll send it to them. I'll send it to them tomorrow to get it up there. And then if you guys want to, since this is done now, maybe it's best to get those links and dates for spring info sessions up. I know Robert said he was going to send me a schedule for that Tuesday meeting he has twice a month. And then Jeff, I'll look at your photo schedule on Find a Class, and then maybe I'll just send you guys some tentative dates to kind of double check and go from there. But maybe I can get stuff up
Yeah.
next week.
Well, you haven't gotten rusty. That was very good.
I appreciate it.
You had it down, and you found some new images, which is nice. Especially the crown jewels. That was
yeah, there was I just didn't like the last one. I started looking around a little more.
Well, no, you had that one from Ruth that was yellow and blown out.
Yeah, no doubt.
So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, thanks, guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right.
See you later.
Go.